welcome to the ISP A to Z Future of Careers series, where we connect you, our parents, with leading experts from around the world to help you have meaningful conversations with your children about careers of the future. I'm Jo Fretwell, Head of Global Learning Partnerships at ISP. I'm here today at beautiful Fairmont Schools in California to meet with Courtney McHugh, who's going to talk us through how we can learn more about careers of the future and the sorts of skills that you can help your children to develop if they're showing an early interest in teaching and careers. So let's begin with your background. Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Courtney McHugh, and I am the International Programs Coordinator here at Fairmont Schools in California.
So when did you realize that teaching was your calling in life?
At an early age, I've always wanted to be a teacher. And after college, I took a little bit of time to travel and to become a student myself abroad. I went on to get my master's degree in teaching English to speakers of other languages. But my favorite part of my job is really working with teachers. And teacher training has been something that's kind of bubbled up for me the last couple of years that I feel very passionate about. The role of the teacher has really changed over the last couple of years, and it's gone so far beyond just delivering information and knowledge to our students. I mean, we are so much more to our students now. And schools have this responsibility to really foster learning in students and protect them and keep them safe and keep them happy. And so I think there's a real need for safe schools and for good teachers, and you're seeing it now more than ever.
So you've been a teacher for 13 years. How has teaching changed since you started?
There's two ways I think teaching really has changed, and it's very apparent in the day-to-day, and that is that there are a lot of extra programs for student support, whether it's through language, whether it's making sure that the students have academic assistance. There's a lot of students who are coming now with learning challenges, and so having to kind of tailor support and differentiate the instruction based on student needs has changed. Another thing that I'm seeing is this big push towards and this emphasis on SEL, the social emotional learning, making sure that students feel supported, whole child, and so making sure that they are feeling comfortable at school, and mental health is a huge thing that we talk about as teachers, and so having counseling support on campus, for our students, for our teachers even, is really important.
What do people get wrong about teachers and teachers' roles in schools today?
Teaching is traditionally thought of as you've got your classroom, you lesson plan, you grade, you communicate with parents and families, and that is all true, but there's so much more that goes into being a teacher these days. And of course it depends too on the grade level in which you're in. There's a lot of nuance between, the different teaching positions that there are. I think some of the challenges are there's teacher burnout. There's limited resources sometimes in schools, especially in public schools. There's this pressure to integrate technology into your students' day, but making sure that it's not replacing the original thought. There is a lot of extra responsibility that teachers take on. There's 100 unseen responsibilities that I think parents need to remember about teaching and what it looks like. But it is one of the most gratifying professions, I believe.
Could you share a moment or perhaps a student that's kind of changed how you see your role? Has there been kind of a defining moment that's really changed how you thought about that and your role within the school setting as well?
On a personal level, it's when I became a mother. Everything changed. I looked at my students in a completely different way. Knowing how much I loved my own child now, I am entrusted with 25 of them in the classroom now. I mean, parents are entrusting you with their children, and that is the biggest responsibility that we can have, and it's a really great honor. And you want to make them feel safe and understood and cared for. And so I view students in a totally different way after becoming a parent. It was a gift.
Thinking about the future of education and what we're here to talk about today is really around how careers are evolving and how careers are changing. What trends might shape the next 10 to 20 years in the field?
I suspect what we'll see over the next 10 years or so is what we're already kind of seeing pop up now. I think one of the silver linings of COVID was the capacity and the ability to do online learning and teaching. And so, we have remote learning. Those are wildly popular programs now where kids can do like a hybrid program. And so I think we'll see a lot of that. For example, athletics is a big thing. So we here have an athletic academy. And so a lot of our students are given the opportunity to deepen their practice in their sport, but also get the schooling that they need, which sometimes is served online. And so I think that we'll see more of that. I also think that we'll see an emphasis on global competencies, multilingualism, of course. You know, the world's getting smaller, people are moving, and so languages are starting to kind of blend together. And you are now, if you're a teacher, you are a multilingual teacher. There is no, group of teachers at your school that's the specialists for that. We are all now the specialists in multilingualism. And so I think there will be an emphasis on that. And then I do think that there will be this massive demand for specialists in SEL, which is social emotional learning. And so I think that a lot of schools are now seeing the importance in having specialists on campus to serve their students, whether they're in neuroeducation or school counseling in terms of mental health. So I think that there will be a huge push to make sure that there is the right support.
How do you think sustainability will influence the field of teaching and education in the future? Because obviously sustainability is a massive topic globally, and the UN sustainability goals that we talk about in schools as well. So sustainability will have a big impact going forward on education?
I think so. I see it already. It's a word that students are now acutely aware of. And so in terms of education, social sustainability, environmental sustainability, those are all things that we're already teaching our students. You know, as they get into older grades, like middle school, high school, college, beyond, they'll probably be taking a college course on sustainability. But when they're in the younger grades, it might not register as something that's so important to them, but it is. And we are already teaching that just in our day-to-day with our students. For example, a lot of the schools that I'm having the pleasure of visiting, they have sustainability or the concept of kind of already ingrained in a lot of their mission statements. And so they're already doing that. And so there's this responsibility to kind of make sure that we're producing these global citizens out of our students. To teach it to our younger students, it's just as simple as teaching them the concept, the golden rule of making sure that you're leaving something better than when you found it.
Another area that's obviously coming and super big, and we've discussed across lots of our future careers series as well as around AI. We know that AI and digital technology is really having a big impact in the classroom. Is there any tools that are making the experience more meaningful, and how are they helping you really to break down the barriers from traditional teaching and move students more towards this kind of AI tech online environment that we're seeing?
Well, I think digital literacy is one of the most important skills that students need to be learning these days. AI it's changed everything in teaching. It really has. It's such an important tool. It's just helped teachers become more efficient. It helps with your daily tasks. It helps with communication, with grading. But then for students to use it, it's a real responsibility of the teacher to make sure that the kids are learning how to use it in the correct way. It's not a replacement, it's an addition, it's a tool. Some of the other things that I am loving right now is on ISP's Learning Hub for our teachers. There's the AI toolbox. So you can take a subject, a concept, you can put the grade level in, the language, and it literally creates for you an AI-generated plan.
And I think that's where it's great to have advice from experts like yourself and like which tools are actually useful, because if we can curate tools that are useful for particular classroom settings, particular languages, particular age groups, and then give those to our teachers as well.
Collaboration is one of the most important things for a teacher to really focus on too. In a school, the teachers are your best resources. Oh, what are you using? Oh, I have this problem. Like, do you have any suggestions for this? And so when I'm teaching, my colleagues are my best resources.
One of the major advantages of being part of ISP as a group is that you've not just got your colleagues in your own school, which are obviously amazing and supportive. You just pop down the corridor and ask a quick question, but you've also got that international perspective that you can bring into your classroom as well. I think is such an advantage to be part of such a global group. So if you've got a child at home, what sort of skills will give a student interested in teaching a head start, do you think?
The skills that a teacher will need and a student should have, and I'm sure that they're learning in school: digital literacy, how to properly manage their time, emotional intelligence, patience, collaboration, communication. Public speaking is a huge one that I feel that we really need to focus on with young learners especially, and just kind of preparing them for that. And I think for parents with kids at home who are interested in becoming teachers, I think the most important thing that they could do is just expose them to different learning environments, even after school. Sports, I mean, making sure that students are constantly learning and they are aware of their learning. I think praising your students' qualities that you think are, that make a good teacher.
What can students do now to get hands-on experience to learn more about what teaching really is all about?
The answer is school. They're in school every day. They have their teachers, and so there's a lot of knowledge there for them to get. It's right there at their fingertips, and they just have to ask.
I guess a final question just to throw out there. If teaching disappeared tomorrow, what would the world lose?
I don't foresee that happening. And actually, I anticipate the opposite happening. I think learning will become more important. It will become really at the forefront of young learners. And I think that what we will see is schools becoming more than just places to learn, more than just places to gain the knowledge that we need to be, successful humans. I think they're going to turn into places where kids feel nurtured, feel taken care of, supported. The school is the center of a child's universe, really. I mean, other than your family's home, your family at home, you spend most of your time at school. And so I think schools are starting to really become more inclusive and places where kids can feel safe and have fun and be happy and thrive. And so I hope the opposite happens, and I think it will.
Visit the ISP Future Pathways website to find more resources and opportunities that you can use with your children to help them learn more about their future pathways. Thanks so much for watching, and join us for the next episode of the A to Z Parent Series.